Good morning and happy Wednesday. If you don't have a pep in your step, you're about to get a pep in your step for the day. I'm super excited because we have a fantastic guest here. He is an Angler alum, but one of the first Angler alum, almost what you would consider a founder of our pillars. He's the owner and founder of Pioneer Equipment out of Hastings, Nebraska, moving to Grand Island. We're going to get all into it. But I'm really honored today to have Mr. Jeff Hornung on the podcast.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Grateful for the opportunity.
Yeah. This is your first podcast
It is. About, right? Absolutely. Yeah.
That's
it is.
Crazy because we've been podcasting for a while, but
schedules and everything lining up and life events, it's becoming increasingly harder, and I think people are going to learn that, not only as entrepreneurs, but it's a busy world we live in and there's a lot of demands, but eventually you need to make time for the stuff that counts, and that's why I wanted to record here in the angler space, because it means more when it comes from this room, so that was important to me.
And in light of what's happening in your life and around the world and all of the things, just very thankful that you're here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And willing to give up your time for this. So let's give the listeners and the entrepreneurs listening, most of them are alumni, some of them are not Angler alums.
Okay.
So kind of keep that in mind. But share your story. Who is Jeff? And how did you make your way to Angler from being a kiddo and growing up to now?
Yeah, so I didn't know about the Angler program until I actually was a freshman on campus. I just happened to enroll in 101 with Dr. Tom Field. That was the only reason I even came to know the program. So even as a high schooler, I decided to come here to East Campus, to UNL, and did not know this program existed, did not know there were other people like me, even at a high school age, thinking about running companies, thinking about working 18 hours a day, thinking about all the stuff we do, challenges, success, the whole 9 yards. And so when I walked into 101 and you hear the first day from Dr. Field, I kind of went, there is other people out there that are crazy like me. And then I really felt that sense of belonging just that very first day. It didn't take too long for Tom to knock me off my pedestal. I thought I had all this stuff figured out with my whole $2 I made in high school, but I quickly learned that there's a lot more to being an entrepreneur and to be a successful entrepreneur than just making money. I had that part figured out, but everything else, the foundation that it takes to get that far, I didn't have an iota of a clue of what I was doing. So that's what Angler has done for me. But my journey of entrepreneurship started when I was 14, like every other little white boy in North America. I mowed lawns. I was a little lawnmower. I had a John Deere push mower, the 21-inch deck, and mowed my lawn and my neighbor's lawn, and one thing led to another, and then I got some fire stations and some cemeteries, some local cemeteries, and so bigger clients, bigger mower. Then I was taking a loan from John Deere Credit for $3,000 for this mower. Really thought I was doing something, and so as things progressed with that business, ironically, when I was in high school, that was the first time that gas had hit $3 for the first time. And energy was up, metal and consumables were all up, which subsequently meant that scrap iron was really high, the salvage iron. So for whatever reason, I don't know, but I got started doing scrap metal on the side. When it wasn't lawn mowing season, I was doing scrap metal. And by senior year, I made 6 figures doing scrap metal my senior year of high school. Wow. And I say that not to impress you, but to impress upon you, that's the time we were in. People were bringing junk tractors and pickups out of the pastures that had been there for 30 years, cutting them up and hauling them in for scrap iron. And so me and the boys played that game. I had a couple friends that worked for me after school, a couple of guys that had quit the football team to come work for me instead. And we did school buses, we did combines, tractors, we'd chop them up and sell all the parts and pieces for money. It was wild.
Where did you sell them?
Yeah, so we drug them to Lincoln here. So we moved them with an F-250 and a 4020 John Deere and chopped them all up and sold the tires over here and the metal over here. And we hauled them to Lincoln. I've got pictures on my other phone of a school bus on its side on my trailer going down to the scrapyard here in Lincoln.
You'll have to send me these pictures and we can put them on the video.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I've got a really good one. We would take the body, the shell off a school bus, just the shell with the seats and the rubber floor and everything. We'd paint them camouflage.
Cool.
And we'd sell them as hunting blinds. You
Smart.
plop them on a trailer. And so anyway, so that's where I got my start. So I mowed lawns and I ripped apart school buses, and that's where I got my start. And, you know, I came to here to East Campus with a 1-year-old pickup. It was paid for. I really thought I was a big shot. And then got introduced to the Angler program and realized I ain't got shit. I am small. I'm a peon. There's so much more to life than just ripping things apart and making money. And so I came in with a couple of enterprises, but what Angler did for me was push me further and push me harder and made me think on a really big picture scale. Mm-hmm. And that's invaluable, because otherwise I would just be stuck on my treadmill doing the same thing, not thinking bigger, not giving back, not participating in bigger discussions. And so I credit Angler for a lot from that. But that's where I started. That's how we came from. You know, the start of Pioneer Equipment was formerly Kingpin Enterprises. Then it moved to Blue River Trucks, and now we're Pioneer Equipment. I'm not changing the name again. That takes so much time and money.
Pioneer's a good name.
It is. I know. And I was surprised that Pioneer Equipment wasn't trademarked. I thought maybe DuPont would have Pioneer trademarked 100 different ways for Pioneer Equipment, but we wanted Frontier. The original, when we rebranded for the third and last time, we wanted Frontier, but the state of Nebraska would not give us a trademark of any variation of anything. And for whatever reason, my lawyer, who I give all the credit, submitted 10 different ones just to see which ones would come back. And the only one that came back as available was Pioneer Equipment. We just kind of thought, it's clean, it's easy. A couple of our former names were maybe hard to hear and spell phonetically. With plural and ing and different things on the end, but you can't really screw up Pioneer Equipment. 2 words, it could mean anything. If we want to sell forklifts tomorrow, we can. If we want to sell airplanes, we can. You know, that name encompasses all.
Fast question. Before you continue, I vividly remember as a student sitting at a table with you.
I'm sorry.
No, when I was learning and you were already like in the real world as an entrepreneur, all the things, and you were talking about like Google. Yeah. And just Googling the name and how important that piece is.
Absolutely.
Was it Pioneer Equipment then?
It was Blue River Trucks back then.
It was Blue River Trucks back then, but has Pioneer Equipment, that name, been better for your Google SEO and that kind of stuff?
It has, number one, like I said, for the simplicity of the name, and number 2, it fits on our mud flaps a lot better. So we put our own logo and mud flaps on all these trucks and trailers we sell. So that fits a lot better. Talking about SEO and things, it's more important to me the content that's on the website with the search terms that we need to acquire our customer. But everybody can kind of remember Pioneer Equipment more so than any of our last names. And so what we find is people don't jump on Google and search Pioneer Equipment Hastings, Nebraska, go. People jump on Google and say, I want a International 7400 6-wheel drive with an Allison 3500 RDS, go. We want to be the first ones that pop up because we happen to have one for sale right now. And so all of the data and the terms are probably more important than the name, but that name needs to encompass, an overall umbrella of what we can do and what we will do as a company. And so I don't think maybe the name itself is important as what it stands for and represents. So hopefully that answers the question.
No, for sure. But anyway, sorry, back to the start of Pioneer Equipment and kind of how that crazy.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm here for it. That's all right. Yeah, so I think looking back, it started out as buying and selling pickup trucks. That's how I put myself through school. And that transitioned into more utility-based trucks and equipment, which transitioned into more heavy-duty, and then boom, now here we are today. So 3 revisions later, we're here to stay. I'm not adding or subtracting anything right now to our current inventory, but we buy and sell semi-trucks and trailers that go with the trucks, and it's nationwide. And we have drawn our circle of customers as wide as possible. And so that's who we are. That's what we do. We don't dabble in any other markets or go down any other rabbit holes. We try to focus on exactly what we're good at and what we can do that better than anybody else. And that's our focus today. So it took from mowing lawns to doing scrap metal and the pickup thing was a big deal for a while. I had Angler alum working for me on the weekends, moving these pickups around the country and during college. But I think now we found what works. And that's one of the things I talk about when I go speak to students is that you're going to try 10 different things. As long as you find the one that works and stick with it, doesn't matter how many times you make a mistake or screw up in the front. I think that's what I try to embody in my staff and my company is that we can try everything once and see what works and make revisions and fine-tune things. But when you find what works, stick with it. It's okay. You know, it's not being complacent. It's recognizing that value and recognizing that success.
Right. So I always hear your angler experience was wacky in its own way.
That's the word I would use too, wacky.
Yeah, having a business and being a college student. But how when back then an early angler that did you not like leave school for
all the time?
Like
all the time.
We just had to. Jeff Hornung was here.
Yep.
And kind of write it off a little bit, but talk a little bit about those early days of your business.
Absolutely. I'll start with this: is we didn't have this space.
Yes.
Where, I hope my solemnest hope is that the kids and the students, present and future, appreciate this space because we had one room in Miller Hall. Yep. One singular room, Miller 212. The passcode was 2010. I'll never forget it. It was the year the program was founded. That was our hub for everything. And then we got that whole floor of Miller Hall and really thought we were doing something. And then eventually we ended up with the whole building. And then that's kind of when I exited the scene. But the early days, we didn't know any better. We didn't know any smaller, bigger. We were just us. And so the early days of my company, as it were in college, was mainly vehicle sales. So a couple of angler alums and I would leave on Friday at noon, and we'd drive to Fort Worth, Texas, and buy 2 or 3 pickups, bring them back, and we try to be back by Saturday night so we can go out and do something fun. And then Sunday we'd recover and wash all the bugs off these pickups and start cleaning them up and hopefully sell them that following week or two, do whatever they needed to fix them up, and do it again in 2 weeks. And so, but there were times when customers could only meet me to purchase vehicles during certain hours, and I'd go to Mech Systems and I'd get my little clicker and I'd click in for attendance and I'd slip out the back and go sell something. I'd go meet the guy in the Super Saver parking lot and sell a pickup on 27th Street. I'll never forget it. And he showed up with cash, and I'm pretty sure that cash was all legit too, and sold him this, at the time, I think a $9,500 F-150, and made myself cool. $400 and I moved on. I don't know. Back then it was small time. Yeah. I'm not sure everything we did was legal. Didn't matter. We pushed the envelope as hard as we wanted to, but
you're legal now.
Yeah,
hey.
Now we're legal. Yeah, and lucky for me, the statute of limitations has run out on all that other stuff. So there were some interesting characters that we met. Me and Jerry Kenobi got into some sticky situations in downtown Dallas and buying things from guys. But that's all water under the bridge. But the early days, we just didn't know any better. I just knew I had to hustle. I think I just could not sit in a classroom for 9 hours a day. I just couldn't do it. It would drive me nuts. I'd be on my phone or on my laptop. Everybody else would be paying attention. I'd be scrolling Craigslist or Facebook trying to find the next deal. I couldn't focus on that kind of stuff.
Yeah. What in those 4 years do you feel like Angler instilled in you? What was your mindset shift?
Yeah, that's a loaded question. The short answer is if you talk to, freshman 101 Jeff, and then graduating senior, that person is 180 degrees. I'll revert back to what I said earlier, is that Angler taught me to level up and think on a bigger picture and embrace those challenges instead of becoming complacent and doing the same thing on your treadmill over and over and over. And as an entrepreneur with any success, that's tough to do because you get in a rhythm and you find what works and you never want to grow or change. But interacting with others, i.e. other companies, in a professional, real world environment, that's tough. It's tough today. It was tough back then. But putting yourself in those situations as an angler student, like I did, and I should have done more of it, has definitely prepared me for the amount of communication and leadership I have to have every day now. And I think whether that was a group project with Dave Lamb in 275, or whether that was on the Angler Trek, getting to room with other people and sit with other people on the bus and talk to other people. I mean, I bet one of my best friends in the whole wide world, we just happened to sit next to each other on the angler trek when we went to Amarillo. That would have been, my junior year, I think, or something. And anyway, just those situations don't just happen, and Angler provided the medium for those things to take place. So the opportunity was there. You still had to take the initiative and do it yourself, and that's true today. But Angler definitely provided the platform of which those things can take place.
Yeah, for sure. I think I hear that a lot from alumni, and just this was my foundation. This is without this little experience, I probably would have never launched, or I probably would have never had the idea. But sometimes it's the people you meet and the places you go. Yeah,
I think that hits the nail on the head, because I can say with absolute certainty that I would still be in business, I would still be an entrepreneur today, but I would only be a quarter of what I am now were it not for Angler. And I've got nowhere to go up, I hope, but we're aiming for the stars here. I'm not done. We're just getting started. But I look at where I would have been had it not been for not only the staff, but the other students, the experiences, the challenges. I grew a lot the year I was on exec team. I really wanted to be an exec the year before I was, because that was the class and the people that I was most compatible with and spent time with, and for whatever reason it didn't happen. That was super disappointing. And the next year, when I was an exec with people from my own class, I had to learn a lot and grow a lot, not only as a person, but as a leader. But from that came the idea of, it's okay if you're not good at everything. Hire and team up with people who have the strengths to your weaknesses. That, and to me, that's as far as the pillar of partner goes, because I'm not a good business partner in the accurate sense, but thinking about leadership and team building, you need to partner. You need to hire or team up with the people who have the strengths to your weakness. That was instilled in me the year I was an Angler exec. Because if you look at that team, each one of us brought something super unique to the table. But there was some friction. Nothing sincere, but there were moments of friction and stress and, fighting not at each other, but with each other to get to the right answer. And that takes strengths and weaknesses, and that takes some pretty strong card players around the table. Yeah.
Will you share a quick memory from your, I'm thinking something that your exec team changed for the program that is still there here today?
Knock the cobwebs off. I can share one that hopefully, I hope they still use this, but the year before us is when the pillars were done. Yeah. So the team of that exec came in. Amber and Jared and Logan and Curtis and that crew. I think McKeever might have been a part of that. I'm not sure. But that whole crew came in right before I'm going to say assumed office. I don't know what the right term is. Right before we were inaugurated.
Elected.
I don't know what they instilled. I don't know what the word is. But right before that it was when they did the pillars. And so we were handed then, okay, boom, here we wrote all this stuff down and we voted on it and here's the deal. And now you have to not necessarily conform to it, but use it. Here's your basis. Here's your baseline. So what our team did is we looked at that, and to kick the school year off is we did the day in the life of an entrepreneur. That's what my group came up with, was the one was leaving, one was coming. This is where, the story of 10 different Angler students as they were, and how they were in 10 different places. They were all under one roof. At that time, it was Miller Hall. We were all together, but 10 different people had 10 different walks of life and 10 different positions they were in, or problems or success stories. And we spent like 3 days on that original document talking about how this could work together, and how even though those individuals in that document were still together, still separate, still individualistic, but still a team under the word Angler, the Angler program. So that's what my group did. And I take great pride in that. I think they still use that. I'm sure they've tweaked it since then.
I'll make you super excited. We actually, at our staff meeting this week, went through, Tom showed us what the alumni exec members, they all wrote one. Yeah. And I think he also has the student exec team in theirs as well. But Yes, it is still around today, and they still do
And
that
that's
exercise.
been 10 years ago, maybe. I lose track. 9 years ago, it's something like
But
that.
man, it spoke to just the different types of lives these entrepreneurs are living.
Yeah.
Some say, I started my day at 5:30 to a kid screaming. Some talk about, I started with a checklist, It's
Yeah.
all so different, and everybody's path and story and walk
Absolutely.
is very different right now, but I think that's really special that you were on
Yeah,
that
we were
team.
part of that, and so I'm sure it's changed since then. But
Yeah.
the initial part, that's one thing I take pride in. And we were still again crammed over in Miller Hall. We didn't even know this was a thing
That's
yet,
cool.
and I give a lot of credit to Dr. Field for advocating for us and for this space, because I know he had to play some politics to be able to pull this off, this space.
We're very lucky.
Absolutely,
Very, very lucky.
100%.
Yeah. Well, let's hop back to Pioneer
Yeah.
Equipment and share a little bit about who Pioneer Equipment is, who you serve, and what makes it unique in the ag world, or give us a scope of what it looks like.
Yeah, I would say when people ask me what does Pioneer Equipment do, okay, we buy and sell semi-trucks. Well, what does that mean? My next statement is always, think of me like a used car dealer on steroids. Mm-hmm. So we go to other dealers out, within the United States, but not in our region. We go to fleets. We go to sometimes auctions. We go to liquidation events, bankers, and we will buy in quantities and in bigger quantities. Bring these units home right now to Hastings, Nebraska, at our facility. Clean them up, chrome them out, go through them, make sure everything's tight, whatever, and offer them for sale. So that's always my next answer. If someone wants to pursue it further than that, what I tell them is our company has become, since COVID, very much a logistics company. Our commodity just happens to be trucks. So in and out of my driveway every week are trucks hauling trucks hauling trailers with trucks on the back, trailers stacked on top of each other, headed somewhere or coming into us or whatever. We're logistics. We have 18 wheels moving at all times. It just happens to be other trucks that we're hauling. And so before COVID, and we would sell, X number of units a year, 80% of the people would come on our lot, look at the tires, start the engine, make sure it's what they want, whatever. And 20% would just buy online. They wire the money to the bank. We ship the truck to their front door. We never shake their hand or anything. Send them a thank you card and a hat in the mail. That was it. Mm-hmm. Since COVID, that has absolutely flipped. 81% now buy online. We send them a video. We'll FaceTime with you, whatever. And so we had to shift not only our marketing, but the way we did business. The coffee and popcorn in the lobby anymore, it doesn't sell trucks. So we... to answer your question, who our customer is, our customer could be anywhere in North America. We have sold to 42 out of the 50 states. That does include Alaska and Hawaii, and that surprises a lot of people. So we have sold multiple units to Alaska. One truck has went to Hawaii, to the second biggest island in Hawaii. Cool. We have not sold to a lot of the little states back east, Vermont and Connecticut and Rhode Island and all that New Hampshire. Area. Yeah, we haven't. And then surprisingly, nobody from Nevada has patronized my company. But yeah, there's just one random spot we have right in our lobby, we have a map of the United States with a pin where every truck goes. And Nevada doesn't have one, but we have sold to Canada. We export into Canada all the time. Mexico, I just sold one not too long ago to Mexico City. And the guys flew in and drove it all the way through, drove it down to Mexico City. Yeah. We've sold one to the island of Caraco, just north of Brazil.
Interesting.
So very much a freight company. Logistics and customs and different state regulations play a huge role into our customer. So who is our customer? About half of it's ag and half of it's commercial. Very seasonal. So our ag folks are very seasonal, and we're recording this in September, and now it's harvest time, and so we're selling a lot to ag right now. I would say 90% of our revenue this month will be agriculture based. Yeah. In the springtime, February, March, April, May, it'll be the other way around. 90% of our customers are commercial based. Mm-hmm. And when I say commercial, I mean concrete, landscaping guys, trash and refuse guys. Some of that will be a subsequent agriculture customer, so like cooperatives, We sell some to them for tankers. Well, that's ag, but they are in commerce, and so they are kind of a gray area. But yeah, it's very seasonal. So we try to match our inventory to those seasonal fluctuations. So we try to have a variety of commercial trucks available. So it's not just a semi truck like you and I would think when we say that word. We try to have dump trucks, water trucks, chassis trucks. We have some garbage trucks now. We're kind of doing the refuse thing a little bit. Bucket trucks, boom trucks, and then the trailers that go accompanying with these. We found a nice little market for those too. So we try to have 10 to 12 trailers at all times on hand, and again, seasonally. So right now we have a bunch of grain hopper trailers. Yeah. And then in the spring we'll have a bunch of dump trailers for the dirt work guys. So it ebbs and flows, but for the most part, we try to have something for everybody and not limit ourselves to one specific market. Sometimes, being from Nebraska, we're very ag-based, which is great when corn is $7, but when corn is $3, it's maybe not so great. Kind of tough to make payroll. And so we've diversified into a place where we can survive the lows in agriculture with the highs on the commercial side. And so that's where we try to focus on the big picture in 12 months to make sure we can run with the ebb and flows. Cool. So we sell about 250 units a year. On our last 4-year average, that's what it's been, about 200 trucks and 50 trailers. Wow. Is an average. Some years are more healthy than others, but 2 years ago we cracked 300. Wow. 300 units in a year. Yeah. And so in the average price point of these units, it varies, but I think right now, I just looked here about 2 weeks ago, our average price point lifetime of the company in 8 years, is like $37,000. So don't get me wrong, $37,000 is a lot of money, but it's really not when you're talking a company with a lifetime sales of $51 million. That's a lot of $37,000 trucks to get to $51 million in gross sales. And so we move a lot of units. And then each one of those units has a set of paperwork and a title and a registration. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts behind the scenes. So
yeah. I have a lot of questions, and we only have so much time. But I'm curious on how many people you employ.
Yeah. So I still work,
with all those moving parts.
Yeah, it is a lot of moving parts. Yeah. And so I think we've done a really good job of defining everybody's role at my place. And so we have an office manager. She's full-time, and her job is to not only communicate with the customers, but to do most of the paperwork piece. So all of the titles, the registrations, keep track of all the parts invoices. I mean, we spend $60,000 a month on parts, whether that is, chrome wheels, the tires, a headlight, a seat, a steering wheel, whatever the case may be, windshields. There's 100 different things. She keeps track of all that. And so not only is it answering the phones and communicating with people, but there's a lot of paperwork behind the scenes. So we have an office manager. We have a full-time salesperson. I don't do hardly any sales anymore. That is that person's job, to be the face of the company and to promote us and sell our iron. So that's what that person does. I have 2 guys in the shop full-time. One is a dedicated mechanic, as we would think of a truck mechanic, and the other one's kind of my jack of all trades. He washes trucks, preps for sale. If we need a part in the town next door, he'll run up and down the highway and grab our part. Just kind of our little, we call him the monkey all the time, because he flies around and helps out wherever he needs to, but he's full-time. And then I have a part-time, 2/3 time truck driver to just retrieve our units and then sometimes deliver them to the final customer. 80% of our stuff is freighted in with a freight broker. So we don't have enough, physically do not have enough people to go drive all this stuff everywhere. But that other 20% is usually a specialized truck, something with a big boom that's too tall. You can't haul it. We can't farm that out to somebody else. You have to drive it. Or a specialty trailer where we piggyback trucks or trailers. We have to do that ourselves. So I do some driving, and then that person does some driving too. So and then I work the company full-time myself. So I would say 5 full-time, so 5.5 employees is about the A. And of course, I have some buddies who go with us to drive occasionally, very part-time. My brother-in-law drives part-time, and got some close friends too. But on a daily basis, 5.5.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, very exciting to see how you've grown over time. I know I was a student in when it was not Pioneer equipment, and I was the lens from an outside, so it's been very cool to just see and hear about your success, but also it's been hard, and we're going to get into that
in challenges.
Next week's episode. So listeners and entrepreneurs, we'll see you next week, and thanks for joining us today, Jeff.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.